Knowing that and listening to everything you said right there, here's a little bit of the Ravens way, here's a little bit of John Schneider's way. They blend those two things together. Give me a couple players that you think fit both of those molds pretty darn well in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's still, you guys are big time sleepers at the quarterback spot. I'm sure you probably talk about it all the time in terms of who might be the quarterback for your Seattle Seahawks. I think they're the sleeper team that's just, being quiet and maybe make a move. I know that's not usually what John does, but I think he's one of those ones that, makes a move and puts himself in position to go get the quarterback. So I think, when you see these quarterbacks fall, what could they do with it? I think that's the one thing I would sit there and look at. I think that there's a lot of different guys that you could go towards, but I think that they're going to sit there and look at the secondary of this football team and know that Devon Witherspoon has been so good and so productive. That's been really impressive. And so when you see all those things with what they've already got, I think that they're going to continue to focus on offensive line. They'll continue to focus on the secondary, and I think that's going to be the two areas you're going to see them do it.
Well, since you mentioned quarterback, and as you know, we are sports radio hosts, you just essentially dangled catnip in front of our noses by mentioning the quarterback position. We probably spent more time in our 15 years on the air together talking about that than anything else or any 10 other subjects combined. Mark, let's talk about these quarterbacks. And if you believe there is one, I remember John telling us years ago, he's only drafted two quarterbacks here in Seattle, Russell Wilson and Alex Magoo. And he told us years ago he's looking for a quarterback that tilts the field, that tilts the room, that has a presence that changes everything for a franchise. Who in this draft changes everything for a franchise?
Yeah, these quarterbacks, you got to swing and try to hit. And, you've got the Caleb Williams, the Drake Mays, the Jaden Daniels, or Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. I think J.J. McCarthy does go in front of Michael Penix, and I think Michael's the fifth guy. And then I think you're talking about Bo Nix does he sneak in here or does he not? And my gut instinct is I don't think he goes in the first round, but it's going to be close. There's so many good players at other positions that it's going to be hard to do this. But I think that this is where, as you guys know, when you're playing in the division and you're looking at that position, I think the best way I can explain it is when I was in Tampa, we drafted a young quarterback named Josh Freeman, who was supremely talented, on the field and kind of fell a little bit off the field. That's kind of hurt his career. But even though I had a young quarterback who had great numbers his second year, like fabulous NFL numbers, I still had to beat Drew Brees, Cam Newton, and Matt Ryan, right? And so it's like I realized that I still have probably the fourth best quarterback in our division, and that's really brutal. And so when you look at where Seattle is, it doesn't mean anything against Geno. It's just the fact that, hey, look, we might have the fourth best quarterback in this division, and we've got to swing at it. And, you might not be picking 16 next year or in that kind of spot. So I think that that's going to be where I think that they're going to let the draft come to them. I don't think they're going to go make the move to go get it, but I certainly think that they're sleepers with those 2 4s or maybe that third where they can go make a move. But I think you could take any one of those 5 and make a case for them being a franchise opportunity for your football team.
You think all of the background that Ryan Grubb has, Scott Huff has, the OC, the O-line coach, they were just with Penix the last couple of years. Do you think that gives them an inherent advantage in the evaluation?
Yeah, I think it does. Just like I think it's interesting for Harbaugh to have John Alt, right? And like he knows that kid inside and out and everything about him. And so I think it's the same thing. I think it's very helpful. When you bring in coaches from the college ranks, basically even more so over this last year versus any other time, with the NIL and the portal, these guys know so many players and so much background. They are a wealth. They're like even more probably deeper into these players than even the college scouts who've been sitting there for all year watching them. These guys know them and lived with them. So I think it's definitely going to sway, and that's where you've got to listen. That's where John Schneider's got to get a sense of, is Penix the guy that we think – because it's all about the health for Penix, right? I mean – it depends if you like left-handed quarterbacks. That's a separate argument.
I do. I love them.
Brock's kind of a fan for whatever reason.
I was going to say, might be a fan.
Love them.
But, John, so I was with Coach Gruden. Coach Gruden hated left-handed quarterbacks, right? So it's just, it was ugly. It was a bad match. Funny. But, for Michael Penix, you just got to get over the medical. And what your doctors tell you about that is basically going to be how you handle him. And so if Michael Penix is a guy that you feel like can play in the National Football League because your doctors who you hired say, hey, look, we think he's going to be fine. Boom, you could take him there. If not, then, because of all the season injuries. And I loved the letter that Michael Penix penned. I thought that was really smart by him to kind of put it out there and say, I don't know what else to do other than let's go. So I think that's going to be interesting. But, I think that Michael's a really good player, but I think having that knowledge from those college coaches is a big piece of the puzzle.